You have learned much, young one.
Megtooth Sabers requires a lot of work on engineering, drilling, smoothing, tapping, setting, imagining, cutting, stripping, twisting, dipping, tin it, pin it, wire it, fire it, lock it, blast it, swing it, bash it. Megtooth Sabers.
We're live now. I remember turning the mic on this time. So really quick, Colin had some questions. So this is what's called a Graflex button bezel, and it's got, I think that's 632. I can't remember the threading that's on it. And he was asking if I use these on conversions. And no, I wouldn't use a button bezel on conversions, but what I have used is like a normal Graflex button. They work really good on master replica conversions. So I got a master replica right here. Hola, Israel. Now, I did not use the Graflex button on this one because I actually, if y'all don't remember, I put the switches here on this one. The switches are actually in the clamp card, but I have used these button bezels on these MR conversions in the past. This is a skinny flex conversion that I did recently. Still doing some cleanup work on that. But that, I hope that answers your question, Colin, on that. You can use these button bezels from TGS or the old Graflex 2.0 kits in a MR conversion. They work just fine. You do have to do a little bit of modification of the plastic bezel on the MRs, the housing. All right. So, hey, Kendon Hall, a lot of work going on. And of course, Israel's going to be pissed because we're saving the best for last. But Israel's going to have to hang in there. Hey, Chet Osborne, Darth Guide, everybody. This month, I kind of want to show you what's been going on. In case y'all didn't know it or notice, I am back to saber building like massive. And so this month, I've done a lot of testing on the new OS on my old Dark Force Custom Sabers Transcendence Blood-Soaked. A lot of the OS testing that I've done, testing the prop files, has been on this saber. And, you know, I love this hilt. This is my go-to hilt. This is one I carry with me all the time. I drop it out of my truck. I hit trees with it. Thing's a freaking tank. Love this lightsaber. It's just awesome. It's my go-to saber for testing because it's easy to get to. Hey, Fernando. Now, last week, we talked about this saber. And I showed you some of the weathering that I did on it. This is basically a Saber Royale Starkiller. It's not finished yet, but it's close. It is installed. Of course, it has battle mode on it. It is installed. Hopefully y'all can see the crystal chamber going there. So this thing is heavily weathered, rusted, thin neck. See if I can get the rear off and show you guys as a chassis really quick. Hey, Mountain Sabers. But this was a Saber Royale thin neck run. Here's the chassis on this one. You can, hopefully you can see that. I'm trying to look on the screen and see what you're seeing. And it's got a removable battery. So it's really a simple chassis. I didn't put a switch in it or a recharge port. It's just really simple. And it's probably going to ignite when I go to put the, it did. But there is the Starkiller. Now, once I get a blade built for this thing, it's going to be going up for sale. And of course, I still have some finishing work to do on that. So I've been working on the Starkiller. Let me take the blade out of this thing because I might need the blade later. I don't really like, ooh, mango's awesome, Max. Mango is awesome. Love me some mango. I might need that blade for later. So the Starkiller, I did the install on it this week. Also, I fixed my nihilus. I tore that apart and showed you all the guts of it on the inside last week. This thing's got battle mode on it. This thing rocks.
Necro. Kylo Ren.
Thing is awesome, man. You gotta love it. Battle mode, gesture, activations. This thing rocks. Just, it's even better than when I first installed it. Gotta love Profi. So we took care of that hill. Next. I know. I love that thing too. So you can't buy that in stores, everybody, but that's an example of what you can do with the MHS system at the custom Saber shop. That's all MHS and some aluminum pipe I got in the metal scrapyard here. I'm wearing my lucky hat tonight. Next. I buy these. I buy a lot of these. These are, you know, your razor blade plugs, which they have like a little shaver head razor in there. I had Tom Arkham. He actually made me this one. It's a custom DV6 plug, and it's going in my DV6. And that thing came out sweet, so you can see that. And that's going to have NeoPixels in it. It's going to be awesome. Of course, I'll put the NeoPixels in there. So that's coming. That's a personal project. Remember, Jeff Burt said, you know, hey, you got to, I'm going to try a no button FET. I'm not kidding. I'm going to do a no button to test it out. Y'all know from watching my live videos 2 weeks ago, we finished the install on this Saber. We'll go ahead and put the blade in there. Where is my, I'm already losing my mind. Y'all going to make me lose my mind up in here, up in there. Megtooth sit, don't sing. And of course, this one has a razor blade plug in it too. I must have tightened. There's a bunch of blade retention on this thing. There it comes. And we'll put the blade in here and let you guys see this. For those of you that were watching when we did the installs, no Jedi set, this is Ellis. This one doesn't have the new OS and battle mode on it yet, but it will. Now, I did order the mother of pearl inlays for this thing, so this is going to have the mother of pearl inlays on it. This is a present for Ella. Shh, can't talk about it. It's very secret. And of course, no, I'm going to do 0 button. I want to make a 0 button Saber to prove that Profi can do it. No, this one, this Leia Saber Enoch root 505. What do we got? 2 Enoch root now? This one is actually the LG. Of course, it's good. It does have gesture activation. This is the LGT, and I got this one from Rebel Sabers. I initially tried to order it from the guy here in the US, and he was out of stock, so I bought this one. And it does have a razor blade plug, so you guys can see that action going on there. But this is a Christmas present for someone special. And I fixed the shrouds on my brass KR Saber hilt, so that's good. I'll be putting OS 5.7 in battle mode on this one soon. Now, I also, I briefly showed this in the beginning of the video. This is the master replicas conversion that I just did for a friend of mine.
There are too many of them. What are we going to do?
It's got battle mode and all that stuff on it. So that's done. And here's the coup de grace. So I guess it was about 2 months ago, one of my subscribers, Israel Formas, he lives in Spain, and he's a graphic engineer, and just out of the blue, this shows you what kind of a community we have here. Just out of the blue, Israel sent me a bunch of like modified videos. So if y'all seen like my intro video and the wait screen while the countdown timer's going, Israel did all that. And there's more. I actually have merch coming, and Israel actually did the PNGs that are on the merch too. So I'm waiting to see how they turn out. Yes, no holes in the hilt, Max. I want a 0-button lightsaber, and Profi can do it, especially now with gesture ignition and everything. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Web USB in a minute. But first, we got to talk about this. So this is an 89 Sabers Graflex. Now this is just the exoskeleton on the 89 Sabers Graflex. It is in a New Hope configuration because that's what Israel wanted. I actually cut the grips. It's got the New Hope D-ring only with one screw. It does have the bubble strip, and it has a glass eye, but I left the ribs on there like it was on a New Hope. But what isn't kind of a New Hope-ish is I did mill out the core so you get full shine through. So you can see my finger sticking out of the core there, because I know it doesn't come out well on video because it's black on black. This is the guts for this saber. So this is an 89 Sabers Graflex, and I used a Goth 3D Designs chassis. I'm still doing the painting on this chassis. I know it's not going to turn out because I need better lighting. But this, and I'm still doing a lot of the painting on this thing, so this is still very rough. So you can see it looks a lot different than it did before. Now, of course, this one has the slide tab auxiliary switch here on the side, and this one has, that's your main activation switch here, which will be under the red button. So this will actually go inside that Graflex. So the core is removable, but it takes a lot of work to get it out. So once I put it in, she's going to be all over with the crying. So let's turn this thing on. This is Goth 3D Night, and it does work in the 89 Sabers Graflex. Had to do a little bit of modification, but it works. And it is equipped with a 2.1 millimeter kill key. You have access to your USB programming and your SD card right there on the back. And this one has a crystal chamber, and this one's also equipped with a Red Bear Nano BLE2 module, so you can control this with your cell phone. I'm going to turn it on with a twist and kill key, and it boots up. So there's the crystal chamber, Israel, on your lightsaber. So when this is in your saber, you know, this will be sticking out of the back of the hilt. You won't see any of this. You'll just see that saber when you remove the back. So, it turned on. I didn't want it to turn on yet. The stupid battle mode and motion gestures. There's the marble. I'm trying to show you all the marble work, and you see the marble going in the back? I'm trying to get the marble to spin around without it turning on the saber. Hopefully y'all can see that marble in the accent. Now I programmed several different accent schemes. So this is like a Cylon one that I did in the accents on the back. And then when you activate it, it just goes to a solid color. And of course, this does have the stock lit NeoPixel connector in there. I don't know if y'all can see that. Gesture ignitions. Let's get to a different one.
Graflex, TFA.
So this is my traditional turbine that I did, which I'll share this, guys. I'll post this blade style somewhere where y'all can grab it. I know Fernando was upset I wouldn't share it, but I'll go ahead and share this blade style. It's been out there enough now. But this blade style, it basically, you know, accelerates. You see it spooling up there like a turbine, and then it solidifies to the color of the blade. And then, you know, you see it there. You see the crystal chamber. And then when you turn the saber off, it spools down. Hopefully y'all can see that. Now, here's the cool part about this one. I'm going to go to my cell phone, and bam. So this is the Teensy Saber control. And then I'm not going to touch anything or do any of the motion gestures, but, you know, let's say I want to start the Mando tune. or array train. And then I want to put it to the first preset. And I'm going to do the drone background. Now I'm going to turn it on. Flash. Blast. Force.
Shit, I've flown from one side of this galaxy to the other, seen a lot of strange stuff, but I've never seen anything I believe there's one all-powerful force controlling everything.
Lockup.
Mystical energy can't control my
Drag. And let's say now I want to put on the Mando theme. Now it's playing the Mando theme while it's going. So it is controllable with your cell phone. So this one's got Bluetooth control. Now I'm going to turn it off. So again, this is an 89 Sabers Graphics core. And Israel, it will have full shine through here on your glass eye. That's kind of how this goes in. So you guys can see what you're going to have there. It's going to be pretty cool. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and put it in temporarily. I got to take out the glass eye. We're going to get to web USB in a second, Max. Just bear with me. This was kind of a big deal for us tonight because Israel's been waiting to see this puppy. Enoch Root. Oh yeah, Proppy is just doing incredible stuff. You got to stay up to date on that. So now Israel, I do have Ws28 blade adapter for this one. I'm going to put the 1-inch blade in here. And I'll put the there's your Saber. Isn't that pretty sweet? And you see you got full shine through right here. Isn't that awesome? So I'm still working on the config files for it, but Israel, that Saber is pretty awesome. I do have quite a bit more assembly to do on it as far as the finishing touches go, but that's basically your Saber. Isn't that pretty cool? You know, I'll have to do all the beer tab and the slide switch and the Graflex pins and all that stuff, but it is getting close to done. So I'm very, very proud of this install. It came out pretty awesome, and I definitely wanted to give that update for Israel. And I'm going to pull the blade out of there. So that's Israel's Saber. Thing is freaking awesome. Hope you're going to like that, Israel. Guapissimo. He loves it. Day not Israel. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. It's going to be a cool Saber. I was really excited to get all that in. That, I don't know if y'all have seen my video, but you know, I did almost as well. It was a more complex install when I did the Proppy beta install on my Graflex, and I put Bluetooth, the OLED screen, and all the accent LEDs and everything, and the wires inside of that were a nightmare. The wires inside of this were a nightmare. Wire management was very important. In that tight of an area, when you're dealing with that many wires, you got to have your mess together. You got to have a plan. You just can't go at it. Now, Max, I know you wanted to talk about Web USB. So the bad part for me to explain Web USB to you is I can't. I've never used it. Frederick kind of invented Web USB to be an easier way to interface with the lightsabers where you didn't have to use Arduino. And, you know, people that were scared of Arduino kind of dove into WebUSB. I'm not one of those guys, so I'm not afraid of Arduino. But there is some documentation on the TRA about WebUSB, and I believe there's a whole thread about using WebUSB, and you can actually interface with WebUSB on the cell phone app that I installed. But as far as how to use it, my experience with it, zero. Because, you know, if I have a Saber that I don't like something on or I want to change the config on, I go and rewrite the config and use gracias, Israel. But, you know, it's planning wearing. Yeah. Yeah, you know, when you're, the one key thing, especially if you're new to building lightsabers, don't try to squeeze all this stuff into a hilt. Your first lightsaber should be very basic. A soundboard, a speaker, a battery, your NeoPixel connector, and some switches. If you can pull that off, and you have good wire management doing that, then, you know, notice in all my videos I'm coughing. And it's not because I, you know, have lung cancer or anything like that. Just all this talking dries out my throat. So I always have to have water with me when I'm on live with you guys so I'm not coughing to death. Yeah, there is some WebUSB. I'll try and find the thread, Max, and link it. But I definitely know there's a whole thread on WebUSB. It is something that Frederick started to make interfacing with the Proppy easier. But I will say this. If you can learn Arduino, and Arduino is just a stepping stone. If you can learn how to navigate in Arduino, you don't need WebUSB. WebUSB is a crutch, you know, that you use instead of Arduino. It was something that I think Dimitri was pushing Frederick into doing because so many people were having issues with Arduino, especially on Windows computers, like getting it to recognize the Proppy board and installing the drivers. And, you know, I just think that WebUSB was a different way that they were looking at it. And Frederick, to be honest with you, really hasn't spent a whole lot of time developing and expanding WebUSB. But some users have been contributing on it. I think Matt McGurry contributed to it, which gets me to my next thing, is I'm going to be testing Matt McGurry's prop file with Fernando's battle mode on this Saber. And I know Fernando's on here, and no offense, Fernando. Everybody's got their quirks, and for whatever reason, I love the buttons the way that Matt sets them up. The only thing is I asked him a question on TRA about, I don't think he has any way to, you either have battle mode on every gesture ignition or not. And you know how you disabled, like on my Sabers, I don't know if you noticed, Fernando, but the only gesture ignition that initiates battle mode is my swing on. That's the only gesture I have that initiates battle mode. Everything else is just, you know, normal, like a thrust gesture or a twist. None of those initiate battle mode. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see how Matt's prop file does. But I do want to build a 0-button lightsaber to prove how effective these gesture controls can be. And I think it's going to be cool. That's definitely on my agenda that I want to do for this year, is to build a 0-button lightsaber. That's definitely on the agenda. But yeah, Matt McGurry just put out his prop file for 5.7 with battle mode. That's going to be pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited to see that. And another thing I wanted to show you guys is this. Check this out. So, if y'all haven't been paying attention on the Rebel Armory, if you look at the thread count, like here, 20,021 posts in Professor Oron's lab. That is the most popular forum in all of the Rebel Armory. The only thing that has more posts than that is Saber Sales, right down here. That's the only thing that has more posts than Professor Oren's lab. So Professor Oren's lab is 400 posts away from being the most intensive, chapter in the Rebel Armory. Professor Oren's lab's got a lot going on in it, and there's a lot of information about open source sabers there. As always, I'm going to minimize this a little bit, so hopefully you guys can see the web address. This is Fernando's Blade Style website. I'm going to try and post the link to it in chat, if it'll let me. Let's see here. Let's try to post this in chat. Oh, Cole's on. Cole getting his steps in. Cole, you missed some cool stuff, man. All right, I think that posted Fernando's his Profi Blade Style website. Oh God, that's like a tongue twister there, isn't it? And if you go to Fernando's library for 4.5 or later, he's upgraded all of his blade styles, at least most of them, to include the necessary features to enable the stuff that works on battle mode. So that's pretty awesome. Another forum that's great, especially if you're converting master replicas hilts, like this one. This is Master Replicas 2005 Anakin from Revenge of the Sith. I did the conversion on this one. I've done a lot of conversion on these. You can find a lot of those threads here in the Custom Saber shop. Is a good place to go look. And by the way, let's check and see where we're going here with, I got to keep up on this too. Don't see any frosting yet. But at any rate, that Starship, that's something that's going to go to Mars here eventually, but at any rate. Let's get back to you guys. All right. Back to you guys. So yeah, I am on the Custom Saber Shop forums and the Rebel Armory. I have posted some on FX Sabers, but not as much. The Rebel Armory just seemed like a good home for us. And, I've been on the Rebel Armory quite a bit. But yeah, I've got a lot of projects going on right now, and I have a lot more projects coming up. And, I've got the KROR crossguard that I've got to build. I've got the Phoenix Props, the light, which I'm going to build, and I'll probably be selling that hilt. I have a OS5 library is now there too. Dang, I missed that, Fernando. I have to go check that out. I have a Obi-Wan Kenobi from 89 Sabers that is pretty much next on my build list. And, some sabers that I got to reprogram with battle mode to ship them off to Taiwan. But I wanted to wait till I tested Matt McGurry's button style, because my guy in Taiwan likes the SA22c buttons. So I got to test those before I can program them with. Oh yeah, the battle mode that and Fernando's on here. Battle mode is huge for me. Gestures were big. Like once I figured out how gestures worked, I was like, oh my God. With these gestures, you can get rid of the button functions and use the buttons for other stuff and just use the gestures to do the main stuff. And that's kind of what's happening. But then Fernando figured out a way to use that gyro on the board to realize, okay, well, I'm clashing, but I'm not moving away from the clash. So if I'm clashing and not moving away from the clash, I'm going to hold lockup. And I was like, holy crap, that is genius. And then he basically mutated that same thought into stab and drag. And now you can initiate those without any button presses. And plus you have multi-blast, which multi-blast was added, I don't know, 3.9 or 4.7. Jesse Kirkbride is on. And, and then you got people like Jesse Kirkbride that are immediately taking advantage of all these new features and programming his sound fonts to fully embrace all the new features that Fernando's brought about. it's really at a point now, and Fernando's going to hate to hear me say this, but I almost think it needs to stabilize a little bit and chill. We chilled in 4.7 for quite a while, and 4.7 was a really good OS. 5.7 and battle mode is mind-blowing. Light years ahead of anything else out there on the market. Frederick invented the OS, and Fernando ran with some thoughts that ended up working. And to see Frederick embrace that, Frederick kind of endorses it too. And it's just really, really, really incredible. The only thing Mountain Sabers is on the SA22c button file is I don't want all gestures to go into battle mode. The only gesture I want going into battle mode is swing on. If I could get only swing on going into battle mode, then I'd be happy. That's how I've programmed all my sabers. If I want to go into battle mode, I know I just swing my saber and get a quick on, and I'm in battle mode, and I'm rocking and rolling. But battle mode combined with multi-blast, combined with gesture ignition and retraction, and the responsive controls that Fernando's put in with the twists, to get the different colors on the melt was insane. Absolutely insane. Has CFX come out with anything comparable to that? Does anybody know? No, 3.9 was color changing on the fly. I'm pretty sure 3.9 was color changing on the fly because I'm going to share Windows and we'll go back to you guys. Go to my desktop. So 2.6 was the Matt McGurry's fork and Fernando. I mean, the color changing fork was actually Matt and Fernando. And, the bad part about that fork, which that was definitely 2.6, because this was with the delay fix. And then 3.9 is when Frederick incorporated color changing. And then I don't remember what all 4.7 added. But you can go see hang on a minute, we'll go to the Proppy Board V2 website, and we'll go to the software page. And he tells you what he added in each one down at the bottom. So 3.9 was color change, and 4.9 was font search path, IR, SPI LED layers, Fernando's layers, presets any, cleanup, lightning block, melt, responsive styles, and a lot of new styles and effects. And then 5.0 added mainly battle mode, but a lot of other stuff. So just incredible stuff going on. Yeah, 3.9. That's kind of crazy, Enoch Group, because OS 4.7 was pretty stable for a while. I think we had OS 4.7 for like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. Which one you want me to show? How about the Leia Saber? How about that one? Yeah. So here's the Princess Leia Saber, and you can initiate it with a button, but you can also turn it on with a twist, and turn it off with a twist. This one doesn't have battle mode on it yet, but some of my other sabers do, and battle mode basically kind of turns it all on automatically. So, battle mode's really cool. Like this one, my Nihilus. This one's got battle mode, swing on. Now, I don't have this one programmed with, so unfortunately the lockup only shows in the tip because I don't have Blade ID on this. That's something I need to dive into.
Neck roll, nihilus. Anything else?
But you can swing it on. Force push. You can also stab it on. You can also stab on. You can also activate it with the buttons. So it's just really, really cool stuff here going on. Yeah, it's awesome. You know, the stuff that you can do with these soundboards is just nothing short of incredible. But yeah, it is hard to keep up. So what I was saying, Fernando, is, you know, for guys like me, you know, right now I'm like saber building mad. I need the OS to stay stable long enough for me to churn out some sabers. Because as soon as you guys come out with these great features like you do, you know, there's people, including some of my subscribers, that are wanting to send their sabers back, and they want, you know, their sabers reflashed with OS 5.7. Well, I've got to upgrade their config files to all the new blade styles, and some of the sabers that are coming back to me, I programmed them to fork, so I almost have to redo the entire config file on those sabers. So, you know, it's a couple hours worth of work to knock out a brand new config file in the new OS. Certainly a lot less than installing a saber. You know, I don't know, I probably have, you know, maybe 40 hours worth of work into this saber, and it's still not done, and I still got to build a blade for it. So, you know, these sabers are a lot of work. And, you know, some stability, and I don't want to slow the pace of Profi. I think that's one thing that makes Profi so awesome, is that the features just keep coming and keep coming. But I think we do need those periods where the OS is stable, and then, you know, add a bunch of features all in one swoop so everybody has a chance to digest it. I think battle mode and the layers and color change and melt and the gesture controls are so, they're so, what's the word? It's a paradigm shift in lightsabers. And when you have a paradigm shift as big as you and Frederick and others have created, Fernando, it's going to take everyone a while to digest that paradigm shift. I don't know if CFX is, yeah, Enoch Root, that's another issue. So I've got to get these Taiwan sabers reprogrammed and shipped to Taiwan. I have to build an Obi-Wan Kenobi saber. If I can get that Kenobi saber built, then I can work on hopefully the Mentor Graflex, which will be very similar to this build, but with a metal chassis. And yeah, I know y'all are already working on OS 6, Fernando. I've read the threads. But yeah, and I really want to get the Mentor Graflex finished before New Year's, before 2021, because I think I'm going to open up back for commissions in 2021. And, you know, then I only can work on the, you know, typically I'll do like 3 or 4 customer sabers, and then I'll do one funzie. And a lot of my funzie sabers I end up selling too. So yeah, I'm an OT saber guy. I mean, for the most part, if it's not a Graflex, a crossguard, or a DV6, or a MPP, or even the MK1, I'm not really that interested. You know, all these other one-offs, if they're not in the movies, these sabers really don't interest me. But you know, I'm a movie saber guy, especially an original trilogy movie saber guy. My favorite hilt is the Crossguard from Kylo Ren, even though that's not original trilogy. And my second favorite hilt is the Graflex. And if you guys look at my videos, I've done a lot of Graflexes. So my old house is under contract, Cole. It's supposed to close on December the 11th. That'll be the greatest Christmas present of all to me. It's been pretty stressful because I'm paying the mortgage here and still paying the mortgage in my old house, which that's not a lot of fun. and plus I did some crazy stuff to make this house happen, and I'm hoping to get out of that craziness that I did financially to make this happen. So the only way for me to get out of all that insanity is to sell my old house. So everybody keep your fingers crossed that my house closes on December the 11th, and if that happens, then that'll change my whole life. Yeah, I have an LS6. I haven't installed it yet. That's one of my personal Sabers that's sitting over on the shelf. I'm not a big Hero fan. I do like the V2, but the V2 is really more like the MK1, and I do love the MK1 Obi-Wan Kenobi Saber. And I do have one right here. This is Roman's Props MK1, and this thing is awesome. This is an awesome hilt. It's heavy. It feels like you're holding a weapon, but this thing is not installed. It's just a static prop right now. But I love this thing. This is an MK1. These things are awesome. Thanks everybody for keeping your fingers crossed for my house sale. That'd be big for me. I was worried what was going on in our country, whether or not, that's going to affect my home sale. Right now, I need peace and everybody to get along, and real estate market to keep on going, or maybe scare the guy into closing it. Gift you the Saber. Max. I saved up a lot of pennies to buy that MK1, but, I'm sitting here, I don't have much in my collection. I had 2 Graflexes. I'm getting ready to have a third, which is the Mentor chassis. I have my Dark Force Custom Sabers Transcendence. I have the MHS Sabers that I built myself. I got the Static Mark I, a Dark Saber, MPP, and a DV6. That's my collection. Yeah, Roman's V2 is, all these thin necks are tough to work with NeoPixels. Thin necks are really tough to work with NeoPixels. Even that Leia Saber, you just don't have any blade socket depth on those thin necks for the blade to be secure. So most thin neck Sabers I've noticed, especially with a heavy NeoPixel blade, when you're swinging them around, no matter how much you tighten the blade retention or how many blade retention screws you have, there's always some wiggle. And that wiggle annoys the piss out of me. So that's why I haven't installed my MK1, because I have to figure out what I need to do to, build a different blade for these thin necks so that they don't have that wiggle. I don't like the wiggle on the thin necks at all. So I still want to come up with an installation method that's more solid before I start doing thin neck Sabers for customers. That's why if you go look at my videos, you ain't going to see a whole lot of thin necks. And the reason I've shied away from thin necks is because of that instability with the 0 blade socket. So there's another fear about me and thin necks. So I am getting ready to build some KR strips. Yeah, I am still trying to figure out the KR strip NeoPixel blades. Building NeoPixel blades with the KR strips would be so much easier for me and so much faster. I could basically churn out blades faster, but right now, I'd almost say, the custom Saber shop is selling 7/8 or 1-inch KR strip blades for like $130. Yeah, if you use a shorter blade, Jesse, on a thin neck, they're a lot more fun. But if you use a full length, like 34.5-inch blade on a thin neck, especially if you don't have some, I've seen the thin necks where they actually, the blade goes around the NeoPixel holder, and so the NeoPixel holder is captured on the inside of the blade, and then your actual target is actually inside the blade. So you have some retention inside the blade, but you also have some retention on the outside of the blade with your retention screw. And I think that's the way to do it. But I have to learn how to do that on each of these hilts. And I think that's the hard part. You know, Aaron from A&W Saber Services, he has the necks figured out. He installs a lot of them, and he does that inside capture. But the problem is, you know, those capture kits aren't available for all these thin neck hilts. That's the big issue. Yeah, so the KR strips are awesome. They're easier to install. The issue I have with his strips is you have to set up your config for KR strips. If KR strips become the norm, then that's great. If KR strips are not the norm, then I'm going to have to get into programming Blade ID, and you know, if somebody uses a normal NeoPixel blade that's not KR, you know, it would run a normal config. But if it is KR, and I don't even know if you can do that, because you have to change the number of NeoPixels in the top and the bottom to get a KR blade to work. You know, the NeoPixels being wired in series on the KR strips it creates some problems. And you know, that gets to another thing. I know a lot of y'all see, like, including on Israel's Graflex. So Israel's Graflex, he has 5 LEDs here. You have the NeoPixel blade, that's 2 blades. You have the crystal chamber, that's 3 blades. And then you have the accent ring, that's 4 blades. And, you know, I know a lot of guys are like, well, you should use the sub blades and just, you can run all those off one data line. I don't like that. I don't like that because NeoPixels are prone to fail. And if they fail in that daisy chain, like if your first blade fails, so on that Saber, my first blade would probably be the aft spool ring. And if that ring fails, then all the NeoPixels down that daisy chain fail too. So I independently wired every blade in that Saber, including the 5 stock NeoPixels in the adapter. All those are independent. Everything is independent. I don't use subblades out of that fear, because when I first started building NeoPixel Sabers, I was daisy chaining all my NeoPixels together, and if you lost one in that daisy chain, your whole Saber was kaput. But that's why I don't use subblades. And right now, even though the KR strips are ideal for churning out a quick NeoPixel blade, for what we're doing, you'd have to change the config so much that I almost think they have become a hindrance. But I don't know. And I hate to say that, because the KR strips may become the industry standard, and that's just what we're dealing with, and all the boards will adapt to it. But right now, they do create some issues that you have to program around on Profi. They work, and they're great, and they're bright. But the fact that they're wired in series does create some unique issues. But it also creates some unique opportunities. There's guys that have programmed their main blade as sub-blades, so they could light one half of the strip on one color and the other half of the strip on another color, which was pretty cool. But yeah, you know, Saber World is busy right now, and my workbench is busy. So I'm going to try and order the chassis for that Obi-Wan Kenobi Saber. So hopefully by the time I build Israel's blade for his Saber, you know, I get the other stuff in, and I'm shipping Israel's Saber out, and I'm starting to build that Obi-Wan Kenobi Saber. And the main goal is to get back into that Mentor Graflex, which I'm pretty excited about. But Israel's 89 Sabers Graflex with the Goth Knight chassis in it is awesome. That was a fun build. Yeah, the DB6 is an easy hilt Darth Guide, for sure. But, you know, when I open up for commissions, the first people I'll take commissions from will be my YouTube subscribers and my regular watchers on Monday Night Lives that want me to install a Saber for them. So I'll take y'all's commissions before I do anyone else. Yes, Chet Osborne. So I did actually build a Ws2813 blade. Now, for those of y'all that don't know what Chet Osborne's talking about there, Ws2813 strips actually have a backup data pad, so that if you lose one pixel in the chain, you have redundant data that continues that data signal on through the chain. And I built that blade, and that blade went to Hong Kong, and I built that blade for I did an Imperial Knight install for my customer in Hong Kong, and I did that Imperial Knight, and I built that WS2813 blade for him, and I have used WS2813 strips, but I think it's overkill. Yeah, that force push is awesome too. So Fernando added a new define line in it, because I thought like you had to push way too far to get that force push to work, and now with the new define line, you don't have to push the hilt as far to get it to work. I was trying to think, yeah. So on this saber, oh dang it, I activated it with a button. Let's get it in battle mode. There's your force push. Force push. So yeah, that one's using Fernando's brand new defines, and you know, it's cool stuff. But yeah, battle mode on Profi is incredible. Yeah, Fernando, can you guys slow down for a little bit and let the OS stabilize so we can figure it out? First world problems. First world problems. And, you know, it is what it is. So what else are you guys up to? What are you building, Space? What big projects are you working on? And for those of y'all that missed it, if you watch the beginning of the video, you can see the guts of this Graflex, which is pretty awesome. You know, I'm pretty proud of this thing. And, you know, it came out really good. Yeah, I know Fernando's just advancing things so rapidly that we're all lost. So again, for those of y'all that are late to the show, this was an 89 Sabers Graflex, and this is the core. And I actually used the Goth 3D chassis that was really designed for the Graflex 2.5s, and it worked just fine in the 89 Sabers if you use their middle core piece. This one I am using the slide tab switch, and as well as the power button here. It has a 2.1 millimeter recharge port, access to the Profi and the SD card there. Still working on the paint job on the chassis, but you know, it's coming out all right. This one has Bluetooth, so you can control it with your phone. And this one has the marble, which we talked about before. So you can see that marble effect in the back. And we get it to a spool here.
I'm from the Resistance. Your sister Leia
That's a
Saber.
Cylon.
We need Graflex. TFA
Here's the
HD.
spool. You can see it spooling up there. And then it stabilizes in the blade color. It's got the shock connector in there. So this thing is like crazy. You can shine through on the slide switch there. Gesture ignitions, but this thing's awesome. That's Israel Forms lightsaber. Thing's going to be cool. Yeah, marble is shared. It's actually, I shared that blade style on the beta thread. It's also, in fact, hang on a minute. Let's go into Windows Share, and let's go into Profi 5.7 OS, Profi OS. I'm going to config folder. Oh, what did Frederick call it? I'm wondering if it's this K42.h. Yeah, let's go to this one, Forms Flex. And the blade style is right here. And that's the marble blade style. And I'm going to copy that. I don't know if it'll let me post this in the chat, but I'm going to try. We'll try and post it in the chat. Bam. Oh, it's not letting me. It's too long. I'll try and post it in the comments of the vid. It won't let me, but I'll pull it up there on the screen so you guys can see it. Stand by. Let's see, where were we? There. So, zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it. There she blows right there. So there is the marble blade style. And this is from Israel's config file. But it's also on the TRA. It's also like if you go to, let's go to YouTube. Let me make sure I'm sharing the screen. And let me get rid of me because I don't want to be blocking this here. So I'm going to get rid of me. And if you go to YouTube, let's see what's going on with SpaceX. Oh man, it's venting. I'm going to have to end this live stream. SpaceX getting ready to test fire this puppy. And let's go to YouTube. And if you just search Frederick Hubinet, Frederick Hugh. There he is. If I spell his name wrong, that's why. So there's Frederick. Okay. Saber turned on. Because I bumped the table. Let's see. If you go to his K4 Profi OS demo, this video right here, and I'm going to pause the video, and if you expand down below, show more. Let's see. His config file is posted right here, and here's this whole config file, including the trying to get where I can see on this. There it is, marble style, and he's actually got it commented out right there. But here it is, right there. So you can get to it that way, or you can, you know, freeze this video. Yeah, I know. Well, there's a quad blade on this saber. This one has quad blades. So this one, the first blade is your main neopixel blade. The second blade is the stock connector. The third blade is the crystal chamber. And the fourth blade is the accent pixels in the back. And this is the marble that we're talking about. There it is right there. So this saber has 4 blades on it too. Oop, sitting there. Dang it. Got you on screen share and not camera. Let's try that again. So this saber has 4 blades. It has, this is, you know, your first blade is your neopixel blade. Your second blade are your stock pixels. The third blade is the crystal chamber. And the fourth blade is the accent pixels on the back. And then this one has the marble here in the back. Hang on a minute, it's got to get to its stable state. Stupid battle mode keeps turning it on. All right, marble. That's marble, where it follows gravity. It uses the gyro to spin it. But yeah, this one has 4 blades too. This one also has Bluetooth, so a lot of stuff in there right there. Oh yeah. Oh, he did in his blade. Oh, you're talking about his main blade. Oh yes. He built what's called a zigzag blade on that Saber Space Windu, which some of that was a precursor to how he fixed the Profi OS to work with the KR strips. Frederick had to figure out the zigzag blades to figure out how to adapt the OS to Cal's strips, because Cal's strips, like if you buy KR strips, and we were talking about this earlier, KR strips are actually, each pixel is in series. So it's weird. But they're wired in series. Yep. Zigzag blade. That's right, Max. So Starship SN8 is venting at SpaceX, by the way, for those of y'all that don't know. It's venting down there in Boca Chica, Texas, and I want to go watch it. And if y'all aren't keeping up with the news, SpaceX Starship is probably going to go to 60,000 feet this week and belly flop back down to Earth like this, falling with its wings. And then if all goes well, she's going to go upright on her stern, ignite her engines, and land propulsively like this. And if that works, we're going to Mars in 2 years. But and the moon soon. For those of y'all not keeping up with Elon Musk's development of the SpaceX Starship down in Boca Chica, Texas, I'm a huge space nerd. Y'all should know that from when I wear my astronaut sweatshirt, which, you know, my wife, fiance, putting the cart before the horse there, that'd make her excited. Oh God, I'm going to be in so much trouble. I got to go. We got to go watch SpaceX. But at any rate, thank you all for tuning in. Every week, bring your questions. Hopefully I'll have more progress to show y'all next week. Hopefully I got some lightsaber blades built for all these sabers that I've built. And hopefully you enjoy this technological terror we've constructed. Fernando, freaking awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Let me say, I am pretty excited about everything that's going on. So I don't know if Israel Formus is still on, but Israel Saber turned out really awesome. There's the guts for it. Thing is going to be the bomb, and he's going to be really happy with that lightsaber. And Smooth Jazz family, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you about getting your sabers done. I got your email, and I'm going to reply back. Just that one saber, I don't know. It's going to be tough. You know, I'm going to have to build a whole new config for that, and I don't know how they wired it. You know, I could definitely do the saber I built for you, but I don't know that I could do that, the brick saber. But, I mean, I can give it a whirl. We'll have to talk about that. I'll send you an email. But Israel, that saber is awesome. It came out great. When you said you wanted Bluetooth in there, I was like, oh, man. Because I remember wiring that other Bluetooth. It is not easy fitting all that in that little space. You better have your wire management mess together. And it ain't perfect, but it's as close to perfect as I could get it in that small space. But thank you all, everybody, for tuning in. I got to go watch SpaceX. And hopefully we'll see you guys next week, unless work interferes with our weekly biddings. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Keep each other, you know, in your prayers, and you know, we'll do a little ditty here for Birchie, since Birchie wasn't on, which is #NerdUp, which means be nice to one another, and we'll see you guys next week. Do something nice for somebody this week. Do something unexpectedly nice for someone. If everyone did that, think of the world we would live in. It's going to be awesome. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and may the force be with you. We'll see you next week. Peace out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. As usual, I really appreciate y'all tuning in on my channel. And as always,